Hello everyone, welcome to another Arknights video. Today we'll be going over every single daily map that is going to go on in Contingency Contract Spectrum. I promised this video a long time ago, but now going around to it because Spectrum is coming out on the 11th of November, and that means that Arknights players on the global server only have around 2 days to prepare for this. So I'm going to do my best to explain every single daily map, what the main threats will be in each risk that on the week 1 and week 2, and yeah, let's get started. First stage we're going to go over is East Armory. Now this one is a little bit different from the other CC maps, obviously, because this one we're going to be only seeing one time, but it will be with the span of the first 2 days of Contingency Contract. Due to this, that means a lot more players will be more flexible with being able to get risk 8 on it, and also the maximum risk level for it is risk 11. That means that a lot more players will be probably struggling with trying to get to 8, but there are some inflicting tags so you can actually pick it correctly to where you don't have to use the risk 3 tag. Remember though that there will be a risk 3 tag for every single daily map that you'll have to do as a challenge in order to get some more contract bounties. However, you could use a support tag if you want to in order to complete it, and you're also allowed to use friend support units. So let's go over the risk that we're going to go over in this stage. I've already made a video on this, but I didn't post it yet because it was kind of scuffed and I didn't really think it was a good idea to post it. But here we go. So the risks for this day 1/2 daily map is DP regen decrease, HP seal, caster and defender cost increase, enemy HP increase, enemy attack increase, and arch drones buff. So obviously the main threats are obviously going to be the arch drones that come out on the far right side of the map. Remember, there are going to be a lot of them just scattered like throughout the whole lane, so make sure you have snipers covering every single one of them. However, do keep in mind that there will be AoE casters coming from the left lane here. Knowing that, you have to prioritize that as well, but also making sure that you don't leak the drones, because you can't block drones, but you're able to block the casters, and the casters can easily be countered with like a defender or some sort of other thing as well. A lot of people built 9 gil specifically for this stage due to the arch drones, but do keep in mind that ballistas are put to where it's going to cover every single lane that you place operators on. So make sure you'll be able to heal operators that are probably on the outskirts of it here, or just make sure to have your medic to where it can heal everyone in a certain radius. To prioritize the arch drones, I suggest having some snipers down, or having Silver Ash, Aya, anyone who can attack range that is not a sniper could also burst it down really well, especially that last wave, because the last wave has the A2 drone, which will be doing lots more arch damage, and it will be very difficult to deal with. Since this is the only time we have to deal with this stage, that means that we don't have to worry about it in week 2. However, we will have to deal with one map on week 2 times, so do remember that, and there will be different risks with it. This one only we're only seeing it once in the first 2 days, and the risks do not change, so thankfully we don't have to deal with any other risk tags with it. So yeah, that is East Armory. Let's move on to the next daily map. The next daily map that I'm going to cover is Windswept Highland, and this is the CC Cinder permanent map, and we're going to be dealing with this on day 3 and day 13. So the main threats on this map have always been the Sarkaz swordsmen and Sarkaz casters. The flag carriers are also a threat because if you activate them, then everything is going to be buffed and it's not going to be a good day. So the day 3 tags are as followed: HP seal, DP regen, ally HP decrease, Sarkaz caster buff, Sarkaz swordsman buff, ally attack and attack speed debuff, and Sarkaz flag carrier buff. Do keep in mind that the 3 main threats of the stage have all gotten their buffs, meaning that the flag carriers will be on standby for less time, and also have an increased buff to everything on the map. Sarkaz casters will now be able to break through resistance more often, so which means more damage output. Swordsmen have a lot more attack now, and have a higher attack speed, which means you will be having to activate skills more often, if anything. This, in my opinion, a good counter to this is having some slowers and debuffers. That way you'll be able to not have to deal with getting hurt by the swordsman. Also being able to resist a lot of the casters, because the casters have so much attack and they do arch damage, which means it will shred the resistance, as the wrist tag will choose to get rid of that resistance or a partial amount of it. And with most operators not having too much resistance, it doesn't sound big, but the ones that do have resistance, you do have to pay much more close attention to, especially casters and defenders, like healing defenders, and supporters as well. Those three, for sure. But that is only week 1 tags. What are the week 2 tags, you might ask? The week 2 tags are as followed: HP seal, enemy defense increase, ally attack and attack speed debuff, Sarkaz swordsman buff, deploy limit 7, event positions have been moved, and enemy HP increase. Now, this one sounds pretty normal, as there's not too many buffs, but you still have to worry a little bit. Both buffs, by the way, are at a maximum risk of 12, which means that you do kind of have to stress if you're trying to go for risk 8, because some of the tags are kind of hard to manage, but you don't have to stress too much if you're trying to do risk 12. I mean max risk, since some of the maps that are coming up ahead are going to be tough risk 15s. But in my opinion, Windswept Highland shouldn't be too much of a terrible thing, since you can stall this map. This is probably the biggest stall map in Contingency Contract, so you can bring some defenders, and they'll totally survive, because the Sarkaz shooters are usually the ones that you're going to be stalling, along with one caster and then all 3 of the flag carriers, because you don't want to be buffing anything by activating the flag carriers. So yeah, I'm going to say the beginning of the map isn't going to be too bad either, but okay, that's just my opinion, because CC Cinder was pretty good. And yeah, that is it for Windswept Highland. Now we'll move on to the next map. Next map we have is Deserted Factory, and I'm just going to say this straight up. This one's going to be a tough one. So we'll deal with Deserted Factory on day 4 and day 11 of Spectrum. And I will say this right now, the day 4 risk tags for this map are going to be very, very difficult to do. In my opinion, I think this might be the hardest one we've gotten on Deserted Factory thus far. So what are the tags, you will ask? Well, this one has a maximum of risk 15. And the tags are as followed: HP seal, DP regen, squad size reduction, enemy attack increase, ally attack decrease, enemy HP increase, Avenger stat boost, and wait, no, that's the wrong one. And ally HP SP regen, not HP, but ally SP regen. That is the one tag that is going to ruin everything that you do. Yes, the Avenger buff is going to be very hard to manage as well, since they will be harder to kill, along with the increased HP that all enemies will get. However, the SP charge decrease however, the SP regen is going to be so difficult to manage. The reason why is that you are going to have to be cycling skills way less frequently, which means that you won't be able to prop skills as soon as you think. For example, if you place down an AFEala, you're going to have to wait a lot longer for Volcano to come up. Same with Silver Ash. Even Surtur on skill 3, even though she costs via SP to only use her 3rd skill at M3, it's going to take a lot longer than that. In my recommendation, I always would bring a Telopsis to the stage if there's ever an SP cost thing. So if you want to grab a Telopsis, I really recommend it. Also, Vanguards at the beginning of the game are still going to be very difficult to proc, because that means Myrtle, who is known to being very easy to proc at the beginning of the match, especially if you have a potential 5 backpipe, it's still going to take a lot of time just for a single proc. And that makes it very difficult for the beginning game and the late game, because the late game you're going to be dealing with hateful vendors, and they could single-handedly ruin your run. Not to mention, you can't link anything. even if you can only leak one thing, and it's going to be crazy. Frost is going to be very, like compared to the Hateful Avengers, way easier to manage, but because there's no ballistas, there's no effects with the purple shot, so you could just use a defender to tank it. But yeah, that's good. The Avengers are the biggest threat that is coming in day 4, and in my opinion, the risk 15 that on day 4 is going to be one of the hardest ones to accomplish. So if you can't do it, then don't, but doing a risk 8 shouldn't be too hard. Now let's move on to the day 11 tags. Day 11 tags are as followed: ally attack decrease, enemy movement speed increase, ban tiles, Frost sets up ballistas now, enemy HP increase, and class cost and redeployment time increase. I don't know which classes are going to have that affected, but we will find out on the day of this map. In my opinion, that's way less stressful than day 4, and it's also only risk 12, which is so much more manageable in my opinion. But yeah, I will be honest though, some people are kind of still concerned with how the ballistas will work, and just think of it as East Armory, where it will basically attack pretty much everywhere where you normally put your operators. But if you know where the ballistas are set up, which should be obvious where they will be set up, it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. Since the ballistas, yes, they will do a lot of damage, but if they're hidden behind these vents, then they won't be targeted by them. So you don't have to worry too much about the ballistas, but make sure you have a healer or two on the map so you can withstand them with their consistent damage. But yeah, those are the risks for Desert Factory and how you should kind of manage it. I really hope that the day 4 one doesn't sound as hard as it looks, because it looks so difficult to pull off. But if you want to look for a CN guide, definitely do so, because it'll probably help you drastically. And yeah, let's move on to the next map. Alright, from one permanent map to the next one is Pyrite Gorge, the permanent map from CC Pyrite. Back CC1, oh my gosh, it was like 1 year ago, that CC. That's crazy, actually. By the way, if you don't know, Pyrite Gorge is my favorite daily / permanent map that has ever been released into Contingency Contract. It is so fun, and I'm so excited to review the risks on this one, because last CC and Let's Seal, they were super easy to manage, as we had a risk 12 one and risk 11 one for that one, and it just felt way too easy. But I'm glad they're amping up the difficulty for this one, because both of the Pyrite Gorge map, Pyrite Gorge risks on day 5 and day 9 look very difficult, and I can't wait for that. So for day 5's risk that we'll be taking a maximum of risk 15. HP seal, ally stun duration increase, enemy HP increase, ally defense decrease, ally HP decrease, enemy attack speed increase, ally attack decrease, and ban tiles 3. Meaning that your operators are going to be very, very squishy and also will not be able to hurt too much. And the enemies also have increased attack speed and HP, so that means it'll take a little bit longer to eliminate them, and they will hurt your allies super quickly. Also, not to mention you can't leak anything, which is pretty normal. Ally stuns pretty normal as well. The snipers are pretty easy to manage in my opinion. You just make sure to place an operator to bait the stun in my opinion. And the ban tiles one is what makes it very interesting, because that would probably mean that you have to work around how you take care of Crown Slayer and the Wraith Leaders when they come in and wave. So let's be honest, the ban tiles 3 will probably remove a lot of these range tiles, except maybe 2. Maybe we get like 1 or 2 range tiles left. That really makes you think on which ranged operators you want to deploy in the field. Do you want to deploy a medic? Do you want to deploy a caster? Do you want to deploy a supporter? Do you want to deploy a summoner? Like, there's a lot of things to do here. Also, there's going to be a lot of these tiles on the ground too that you might need. I mean, that you might wanted to use in Pyrite, but they will be gone for when Spectrum comes on day 4. So, in my opinion, there's not the big threats being Crown Slayer, the Wraith Leaders. For Crown Slayer, if you can't kill it for on the first phase, just let her go into here. Just make sure you have DPS ready for this part. And the Wraith Leaders, make sure if you can't do anything with, just make sure you can slow them. Because even though we don't have enemy movement speed increase for this map specifically, or on day 5, it's still gonna be pretty tough because, yeah. However, on day 9 it is going to be a lot more challenging. On day 9, the risk star is followed at a maximum risk 15. HP seal, enemy defense increase, enemy movement increase, ally attack decrease, enemy HP increase, ally SP charge required is increased, which is going to be a lot more difficult. Wraith max tag and Crown Slayer max tag. We haven't had this before. We haven't had the Wraith tag and the Crown Slayer tag at max before. Only if you've done CC Pyrite at max risk when it. Yeah, only if you've done Pyrite Gorge at max risk when CC Pyrite was out. You know how hard it is to take care of both Crown Slayer at max risk and the Wraiths at max risk. Most people are going to be using the sniper strat. That is totally fine because the sniper strat will be very good for it because a lot of the tiles are going to be back. There's no tile ban. However, you will have to consider some other things, especially the ally SP charge increase. What that means is that it takes a lot longer for SP to charge. It takes a lot more SP for a skill to charge up. So let's say normally you pop down like a Vanguard such as Myrtle, Alicia, they will take a lot longer to proc their skill. And that can affect your run very heavily. And yeah, even the beginning of the map is going to be difficult. Not just Crown Slayer and the Wraith Leaders. No, the beginning of the map is going to be difficult too. So keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm actually really excited for these. Like I know they're going to be difficult, but I really like Pyrite Gorge, and I like the direction they were going with making it very difficult. And I hope I get some fun out of it because I love Pyrite Gorge. Every single CC that has been a daily map, other than maybe Blade, I've actually really liked. So yeah, let's move on to the next map, which is not going to be fun. I will tell you that. My freaking least favorite map in CC history. Yes, it has topped Deserted Factory. It has topped Deserted Factory and Desolate Desert. Area 6 Ruins. This is probably, in my opinion, the worst daily map I've ever seen in CC history. Even though Cinder was one of my favorite CCs, this map was terrible. And it's going to be even terrible because I see the risk on this one, and it's terrible. On day 6 and day 10, Area 6 Ruins, let's go over the tags for the day 6 one. HP seal, enemy defense increase, enemy movement has been increased, ban tiles too, which is going to be terrible. Enemy attack speed increase, W gets some stat boost, ally attack is decreased, and the melee enemies on the field are all buffed. So as you can tell, the casters aren't a problem anymore because they don't have any increased attack range. However, everything coming from this little base here, everything is going to hurt. Armed militants, the butchers, even the light soldiers that come out and just take this straight line across, everything is going to hurt there. So if you have a Weedy, you don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about the casters. Like, make sure you have your 9-Gil or something ready because she's going to be taking some damage, but it's not going to be too crucial as she's just going to stall them for a long time because, you have to deal with the arts guards on the top here are going to be hard to manage, but the push force is going to be there if you have M3 Weedy's second skill. So don't worry about it. And yes, I do suggest having Weedy here because she will be very helpful. Even if there's ban tiles, it doesn't matter because you'll at least have one there. But this is where everything cuts loose. This little enemy base, everything breaks out terribly. And with some ban tiles happening, you might not be able to take care of some of the enemies that are coming out of there. In my opinion, for the W, always have some bait down when she starts shooting her bombs at your units, because she's able to one-shot your casters, your snipers, your range tile units, and sometimes even your Vanguards, if you do have Vanguard down. But yeah, oh my gosh, this map is terrible, and we're not even done yet. That is only the day 6 tags. Let's take a look at the day 10 tags. Day 10 tags are as follows. Medic and supporter costs are increased. Allied defense is decreased. Ranged enemies have some buffs. Ally attacks decreased. Deploy limit is down to 7, which is terrible. The melee enemies in this stage have a buff. Ally HP is decreased, and the tiles are banned. 3, by the way. That's a ban tiles risk 3. So that means all the enemies are buffed. You have a limited deploy limit, and you don't do any damage. And your HP is decreased to the point to where you get one shot by basically everything in the map. Yes, everything on the map. So I suggest bringing some defenders to at least hold the lanes if you can, and some strong medics, because you are not going to survive anything if you take that max risk ones. Especially the armed militants who go up here and just go, they will shred. If you let them pass the Rotational Daily, you're basically screwed unless you're able to DPS it down, but before the time they get to the end there, which is easier said than done, as you will be dealing with casters and the guards up here as well. Yeah, I never liked the design in this map. This map just like I don't know what they were thinking when they were making this map, but they decided to just throw everything that everyone hates into one map. Like casters, everyone hates casters. There's even an AoE caster thing. There's arts guards up here. There's soldiers down here that some of them have high defense and the others are just normal. So your physical DPS here isn't going to do crap unless you have an arts guard. Then they're going to be just fine. However, the armed militants and W that come out here is even worse, because I know W wasn't a huge threat when she first debuted back in 1.12, but when she came out in Fungi Mist on her own stage, that was a pain. And even here, and she has some buffs now, even worse. But yeah, we have to work with this map with what it is, and I know some people know how to manage the stage, but I don't. And this map gives me lots of Contingency Contract Lead Seal PTSD, because it ruined my perfect streak of every single risk map every single map at max risk. So I'm looking to have revenge in this map. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on before I start ranting again. Here's the other map that I despise, Lockdown Prison. This was just recently added in the CC Lead Seal, and just to let you guys all know, I hate it. This was one of the most terrible maps as well. In my opinion, it's due to one mechanic, the freed mechanic. If they didn't have the freed mechanic, I mean the stage says it all. If it wasn't even like transferred from the mountain event, then this stage wouldn't even have any issues. If it was like portrayed off of, like, let's say Twilight of Volumon with the towers, I would be fine with that, because I know how to deal with those mechanics. But the mechanics from Mountains event, for some reason, Mansfield Break was like one of the most confusing events in my opinion, and I just didn't like. I don't like the freed mechanic that much, and it's because, like, oh gosh, okay. Let me stop my ranting real quick and just go over the risks from day 7 and day 12. The day 7 tags are as followed: ban tiles, ally attack decrease, DP regen, freed mechanic is more likely to activate on every single enemy. Deploy limit 6, enemy HP increase, caster specialist cost and redeploy time. Yeah, that's not good. I'll just say that right now. And it's a max. It's a risk 3 on both the DP regen and the enemy HP increase. So basically, and you usually are relying on a strong caster to take care of the big guys here. And with their redeployment time increased and their cause, you can't redeploy that unit that much. Because when I usually have Aethiola here to use Volcano, and then retreat her and come back. This makes it so that I either have to keep her on the field, which makes her invulnerable to the snipers, who will be most likely being here, and it's not gonna be fun. Also the freed mechanic at risk 2 makes it so that basically they're going to be freed by 2 attacks, and that's not fun. Because like the enemies that come out of here, like there's like punchers and there's like the casters as well that only attack if they're freed, but still, it's not going to be fun at all. And I'm not even gonna. And the day 12 tags aren't better in my eyes either. Freed mechanic is at risk 1 this time, but still, it's terrible. Ally defense decrease, band tiles, squad size 7, ally attack decrease, enemy attack increase, and ally the HP decrease. Yeah, I'll say it right now. Even though lockdown prison on day 7 is going to be risk 14, that's going to still be hard, and the lockdown prison on day 12 is risk 13 max. They're both still going to suck in my opinion, because like, yes, the map is short compared to some other daily maps, but the enemy is there, and just the way it works out in my eyes, it just doesn't blend well. This map is just really flawed in my opinion, and it's just there's nothing good about the enemies that come out of it. So, in my opinion, if you're planning to go for max risk, have a defender or someone here. Have your main DPSs here. If you need to have a caster here, go ahead. But have your main DPS in like this area. Make sure your Make sure you can take care of the snipers here that will mostly get freed by hitting this whatever it's called. I don't know the mechanic in it. But yeah, it's gonna be not fun. Anyways, let's move on to the final daily map. The final daily map of CC Spectrum is Abandoned Mine. Now, Abandoned Mine we will not be worrying about in week 1, but we'll worry about it in week 2, not just on day 8, but also on day 14, which is the last day of Contingency Contract Spectrum. And yeah, I think, in my opinion, Abandoned Mine is going to be very easy to manage because we just got done. We know the mechanics of it since CC Let's See was the last CC that we've accomplished, even though it was like 3 months ago, so we will have some sort of break from it. But in my opinion, I feel like we know what the risks are going to be. So let's look at the risk tags. The day 8 risk tags, it has a maximum of risk 13, and the risks are as followed: HP seal, ally defense decrease, enemy movement increase, band tiles 2, ally HP decrease, enemy attack increase, and big bob and mudrock buff at max risk 3. Now the rocks aren't going to be broken, which is something that you'll have to consider, which means that you could take care of the colossus or the golems before they're able to destroy the rocks, which means that the originium tile is not going to be played in effect. However, some people use the originium tile to their advantage in Let's Seal, as a lot of people like to use the originium tile to buff their certain operator. We'll keep that. We'll talk about that once we get to the day 14 clears. I mean, day 14 risks. But remember that Big Bob and Mark are going to be super buffed, in my opinion. Super buffed, because that risk 3 tag means that they're just gonna shred through everything. So I suggest having a strong defender on your side, having some debuffers, lots of DPS such as casters or guards. And I mean, I guess snipers, even though the enemy resistance increase isn't on this one. But again, you do you. Use the operators that will work out in your eyes, or you have built. Day 14 tags are as followed, and this one has a maximum risk 13 as well. DP regen, broken rocks on the map, attack, ally redeployment time has been increased, ally attack decrease, class cost and redeploy time for certain operators. We'll get to, I don't know what they are, so you'll find out on the day of the event. Enemy HP increase and band tiles 3. Now the band tiles 3 is something that I don't think we have experienced on this map before, but I feel like we'll be able to manage, in my opinion, because at least we know some certain spots well for it. But yeah, there's not too many big threats in this one, but you will have to deal with the enemies not being able to die as quickly because they'll have a lot of HP. And the redeployment time really sucks in my opinion, especially if you're trying to cycle skills on operators that are just like heli drop-ins, like Silver Ash, Surtur, Aefiala sometimes, but some people use Aya on skill 2 or skill or Keeper, and even after activating your skill 2 just for extra DPS. But it's up to you. But yeah, I think Abandoned Mine, again, in my opinion, Abandoned Mine's not going to be too much of a big issue, in my opinion, because the only big threats in my eyes were Big Bob and Mudrock, and maybe the hammer dudes with the shield. So yeah. And that was the final daily map to cover. I know that this video was a little bit rushed in my opinion, and I feel like I should have taken more time on it, but CC Spectrum's coming out in 2 days, yo. I don't have a lot of time to like pull out like more explanations on it. I think something I did miss out on though was definitely like certain operators for spotlighting certain stages, but I already did that in my permanent map video, and I feel like you can translate that a lot with what I've said from every single daily map. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say, really. If you are someone who's going to be aiming for max risk on every single daily map, I wish you good luck, especially for Deserted Factory and Area 6 Ruins. Those two are probably the worst ones to have to do it max risk on. Yes, Lockdown Prison was going to be one that I was going to hate on as well, but I feel like some people already know how to manage it, and also it's not difficult to redo that stage. Alright, yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below how you guys have prepared for CC Spectrum, and if you are ready for CC Spectrum, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I will post another video, or when I go live on CC Spectrum drop, because I do want to go live and once CC Spectrum drops, and it's going to be so great seeing you all there if you can make it. And yeah, I can't wait for it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Good luck, doctors.